Today we have Sapna, and she's going to speak about the last line, reflect about the last line of the mantra, Maha Mrtyunjaya. So let us have Sapna.
Hariom. Today I will be reflecting on Maha Mrtyunjaya, which, as we learned, means may I not be distanced from immortality. What does it mean to be distanced? Over a year into this pandemic, we are so used to hearing the word distanced. For some of us, it has been months since we've been able to be physically close to family members, including our Chinmaya Mission family. And yet we feel that connection, that closeness, that comfort through engaging in satsang. On the other hand, when I have experienced friendships where I and another person have started to become distanced from one another, we could spend so much time physically close to each other and still feel out of sync. And sometimes distanced simply means distracted, not being available for the present moment or person, even when it is something or someone I love. Distraction, too, is a form of negligence. Just as we learn of the Panchakoshas, the 5 sheaths that veil us from the self within, I often feel as though there is a 6th sheath on the outside, provided by the noise, the notifications, and distractions I subject myself to through being connected on devices. Therefore, may I not be distanced means may I always be present or feel connected to immortality. Who is immortality? Unlike the jiva, which goes through these cycles of birth and death, Bhagavan is immortal. And that same immortality is also within each of us, our true self. Thus, Maha Mrtyunjaya means, may I always be present for and feel connected to Bhagavan and my true self. So then the logical next question might be, how do we do this? And the Shastras prescribe several methods and paths for how we establish this connection through different yogas. The root word within yoga, yuj, means to unite. And these yogas tell us how to unite ourselves with the immortal, with Bhagavan, and ultimately our true self. We can start with talking about karma yoga, which is acting with intention of serving a higher altar. In Upadesha Sara, Bhagavan Ramana Maharishi shares how we should be Ishvara Arpitam, or instruments of God, doing work ever in his service. But how do I bring that to the day-to-day? How do I cultivate that while I am in a work meeting, while I'm commuting somewhere, while cleaning up after dinner? 2 reflections that I had that I'd like to share. The first is to be present, to do away with the feeling of distance from the present moment, reducing my distractions. It could be eating a meal without checking technology or watching TV, or making time to actively listen to those around me, or reducing unnecessary inputs. Do I have to listen to music while I'm on the subway? Can't I simply just be? These small and very simple lifestyle behaviors can go a long way in helping me, again, be present with Bhagavan, with my higher self. The second reflection is to be grateful. When we live with an attitude of gratitude, we can better appreciate all that happens to us and all that doesn't happen to us as well, as a blessing from God. This mentality is prasada buddhi, and it helps us live in a spirit of remembrance and appreciation for Bhagavan. Next, we can talk about Bhakti Yoga. And as Nitya shared earlier in this week, worship can take on so many forms. Our Shastras guide puja, japa, and dhyana as ways to practice worship or devotion. Of course, I can say I feel this closeness with Bhagwan when I'm in the moment practicing these sadhanas. But how do I make sure I am never distanced from it, that I never forget? Two reflections I had here. The first is to be steady. I should strive for abhyasa in any sadhana I take up. Abhyasa means practice, and in a consistent manner. We learned about the importance of consistency from Payal yesterday. How do I practice abhyasa? Having a fixed schedule for my sadhana and a set place where I sit every day for it, that's a good place to start. This prevents me from making excuses that are based on the context, like I only slept these many hours last night, so I can't do it, or I can't find a quiet spot in the house anymore because everyone's running around. And for me, this has resulted in becoming a morning person, making sure that there is a space and a time where I can complete my sadhana before the house is filled with other footsteps or voices, and before other responsibilities also come into my purview. Another form of being steady is to have the same steadiness with which I practice my sadhana throughout the day. Gurudev shared, if you are going to sit and meditate for half an hour, the other 23 and a half hours in your day have to be pure and peaceful. This is summarized in Vyavahara, that my daily life should be peaceful. I should be steady in this peace. It shouldn't be just concentrated in the time that I've labeled as sadhana. Another reflection on how to be ready and prepared for Bhakti Yoga is to be sincere. I should grow in my love for God. This can happen through listening to the glories of God, admiring her qualities. These are all ways to grow this love. And the interesting thing about this love is that it can be limitless. I always think as I enter new relationships in life or make new friends, how is it possible to feel so connected to so many others without it feeling like it detracts from the relationships I already have? And unlike other aspects, like say energy, where if I focus a lot of my energy on work, I actually feel it detracts a bit from the energy I'm able to give to a class I take in the evening. The amazing thing about love is that it is always growing. And imagine if this love was anchored towards the limitless, the immortal, how large-hearted I can be. Next, we can talk about Nyana Yoga, the path of self-knowledge, through which we are guided by our Shastras and a guru. The previous steps help us purify the mind and prepare for Jnana, the self-knowledge. And a final reflection I have to share on how to be prepared for this. To be open. A beautiful analogy I've heard Gurudev use regarding how our guru comes into our life. He shares, and as we know, a guru, we cannot go looking for a guru. The guru comes to us at the right time. He shares, the guru will come when the time is right, just as a bumblebee comes to pollinate a flower at the right time. But how should a flower be poised for a bee to be attracted to come to it? Do bees ever come to a closed bud? No. The flower must open up, and as Gurudev shares in his own dynamic way, the flower must dance in the sunlight, its fragrance radiating, which finally alerts the bee that it is ready. Similarly, we too can prepare for self-knowledge by being open-minded, open to listening, to reflection, and to meditation on the truths that are shared with us by our guru, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. And ultimately, the vision of this Nyana Yoga is to realize the oneness, the immortality that is constant between myself, between all of creation around me. And with that vision, we have come to realize then what we are asking for. when we say Maha Mrtyunjaya, may I never be distanced from that immortality, because at that point, we feel as though we have merged with it. So let's review. May I feel ever connected to God and the higher self. This can be done through inactions or karma yoga. May I be present and may I be grateful. In my devotion or Bhakti Yoga, may I be steady and may I be sincere. And in my pursuit of self-knowledge, guided by a guru, may I be open to receiving this knowledge, to understanding it, and to living it, so that with this understanding, I never feel this sense of distance from immortality. Hari Om.
Thank you, Sapna. It was a very nice reflection on how we can always stay close to immortality and have immortality pervade and penetrate through everyday life in every single thing that we do.